Life is a journey full of trials. We all handle life's trials in different ways. The way we react to these trials in our lives depends on how we were taught as children, either consciously or subconsciously. And I can honestly say that my childhood was blessed by a man named Greg. I can remember the first time I met Greg. It was during the summer of 2001. Him and his family had moved into the house across the street from mine. The house had been empty for a while and needed a lot of landscaping work done. Greg worked for a construction company, so he was always bringing home different types of bobcats and backhoes to work on the yard. At that young age, I was truly amazed by all the amazing equipment that Greg was bringing home. He was always busy, but he was never too busy to take time for me. He would always wave me across the street and we would ride the backhoe and work on his yard together. At that young age, I never realized what a positive impact Greg would have on my life. My dad and I were never really close. My parents split up when I was in the 6th grade. My dad moved to Winston, so we didn't see each other much on a daily basis anymore. It was then when I turned to Greg for fatherly advice and I saw him as a fatherly figure in my life. I could always turn to him no matter what was going on in my life. Whenever I didn't feel comfortable talking about a situation to my mom, I always turned to Greg first thing. There was one specific situation that always sticks in my mind, that Greg was there for me. I couldn't find the courage to talk to my mom about a situation, and I called Greg. He was there and he found me sitting in the bathroom floor crying. He didn't say anything, he just sat there and talked to me. He just gave me his advice on what he thought would be the best way to solve the problem. He promised me that he wouldn't leave until I found the courage to talk to my mom about the situation, and he stood by his word. That was one thing I admired about Greg. He always kept his word. He never finished anything that he said he couldn't promise. Greg also had a great work ethic, and I always admired that for him. He wasn't the type of person to start something and quit halfway through. Once he started a project, he always saw it through to completion, and he strived for perfection. Greg was also your typical Southern man. He loved fishing, hunting, and grilling out. My dad, on the other hand, was never much into the outdoors. My brother, on the other hand, and I were very interested in the outdoors, and Greg took everything he knew and taught us about it. He took his time during the summers almost every Saturday and took us fishing, and we cherished those moments. It didn't matter what Greg was doing, my brother always seemed to stick by his side. It didn't matter whether he was push mowing, putting out mulch, or pressure washing. Eli always seemed to stay right by his side and learned everything that he did. As I grew up living across the street from Greg, watching and admiring everything that he did, I can honestly say that Greg is and always will be a role model in my eyes. As I grow older, I aspire to be like him and hold similar characteristics. Unfortunately, Greg took his own life on April 12, 2010. It was a rough time for my family and I, and when Greg left, my whole family's life fell apart. It seemed when he was there, everything became instantly better, and when he left, everything just fell apart. When he was there, our family never had a problem, but after he left, it seemed like our family faced one obstacle after the other. I'm sure that there were other bad things going on in our lives while Greg was there, but he was just such a positive person and focused on the positive things in life. That attitude carried on into ours. And after he left, we forgot about that positive attitude and focused more on the bad. And rather than looking at the bad, we tried to find the good, and it took a while for us to find that, but we finally found it. On the day of Greg's viewing, as people came through, I was truly amazed by how many people came. That night, Greg's viewing was scheduled to start at 6 and end at 10. But people came at 5:30 and stayed well after 10. At that moment, I then realized that Greg didn't only impact my life, but he impacted everybody's life that he came in contact with. And I was truly amazed by that. And I wish to carry those characteristics and impact other people's lives the way Greg did.